Hello, D-Rock here. Welcome to the channel. Some time ago, in the high desert near these mountains, multiple bodies of water existed. This was in a time when the climate was cooler and water more abundant. People would have spent time around these bodies of water, animals as well. There would have been seasonal camps near shorelines and kill sites in the hills from hunts. All quite fascinating to think about. So please join me as I head out to discover what once was. Now, what you're looking at in front of me here as I pan in, you'll see that's kind of like a bowl. You'll notice the tree line stops those edges there. I think that was an ancient lake. I'm looking down on it. Sorry, my dog's whining right now, but I'm gonna pan out here. I'm pretty certain that's the remnants or the what used to be an ancient lake, and all around the edges you can see the tree line stops, and the fingers of this lake kind of extend off to, I'm going to get my finger in the frame here, off in this direction and then back. I'll pan out a little, there we go, and it may even come up to right up in here and off to this direction as well. So I'm under the impression that not hundreds or even 1,000, but thousands of years ago, there was probably people along the edges of this lake intermittently, probably not year round, but they would pass through maybe in the spring or summer or fall or whatnot and, do their life business. So I'm going to go search around some of this area to see if I can come across anything that might have been, well, that would give me indication that people were around the edges of this ancient lake. So I'm about 6,000 feet in elevation. And when this lake would have existed, I can't say for certain, but it would have been in a time period when there was a lot more water out here in the high desert. So that would have been quite some time ago. So let's go have a look. Okay, a little early, kind of waiting for the sun to poke up. We're getting in mid-September now, so it's, like I mentioned, I'm about 6,000 feet, a little higher up in elevation, so it's nice and cool right now. I'm going to investigate maybe a couple spots this morning. It is, like I said, mid-September. It's nice and cool now, but it's still going to be 90-something degrees up here today. I mean, come on. So we're getting closer to the cooler weather, which is going to put me back down to the lower desert soon. Yes, and but I still want to get up here, and now that it's cooler, I can kind of enjoy the day a little more, and the bugs aren't as bad, as well as rattlesnake danger. So they're up here at this elevation. Anyway, that's my story this far. So I'm going to check out a couple spots today. Hopefully we can come across anything that would give us evidence that there might have been people on the edges of this ancient lake, which I'm fairly certain was here. As I mentioned, it would have been during a time when there was a lot more water in the area. That time probably was a few thousand years ago, not say 1,000 years ago. At least that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but I'm no expert. Anyway, let's start having a look. I'm gonna there's a drainage here that goes across this ATV track. I'm gonna kind of walk that for a bit. That's a good spot to maybe see something that might have turned up, and we're going to walk this area for a bit and then we'll move on to a different spot. So here we go. Now I'm in an area where I'm generally not going to find obsidian artifacts. It'll probably lean more towards chert. That's a material that would be a little more common in this area. However, that doesn't mean I won't come across obsidian, because it would have been traded, or it would have been brought down from up north. So we're just going to walk around and have a look. So there would have been communities tethered to these ancient lakes. That's where their resources, would have come from, whether it be animals coming to the lakes, fish, everything during that time period. So a lot of times when I'm out here, I don't find anything. And a lot of times I find very little. And most of the time I find simply lithic debris, which is essentially residue, rock flakes from tool processing or the making of tools. And that's about it. I rarely come across anything spectacular. So that's just part of it. That being said, we're going to give it a shot anyway, because I just like being out here regardless. That looks like some lithic material right there. I think that's quartz. And I've got some chert or jasper or flint. It's all kind of the same thing. When I get up to these hills looking down, I look for any level spots. And we're looking down on what used to be a lake a long time ago. So I'm not actually where the shoreline would be, that ancient shoreline, but I'm not far back from it. So I'm just under the impression, because I'm saying this because I was out in this general area a few months ago, and I was finding spots where there's lots of lithic debris, and I found scrapers and stuff, and it just seemed like it was really random up in the hills. And it wasn't until I came back not too long ago on a motorcycle ride through the area, and I just stopped and looked around for a bit, and I was like, you know, this looks like an ancient lake, man. The tree line stops where the shoreline would have been, where the, you know, so kind of put things together. It's like, well, now it's kind of making sense. They would have been up away, or they'd been on top of it, right on the water. I don't know, but there seems to be stuff kind of scattered here and there all over the place. So that's what we're doing out here, having a look. So here's an example, and hopefully the camera's picking this up a little bit. Here's a nice flat spot. And just on the surface, there's lithic material here. This is chert. So that's evidence that someone was here processing tool, and I don't know, it just, I'm gonna have to take my time and kind of look around here. How about that? So, look what we got here. This is a piece of obsidian. That definitely don't belong here. So that was brought here. Yeah. There you go. Well, I've got plenty of evidence already that they were up in this area. And when I say they, I'm under the impression we're talking about people that were here a long time ago. Not like in recent memory, like a few hundred years ago, but probably thousands of years ago. So there's some broken obsidian, but I mean, it could have been. You never know. I mean, people have been in this area for 10, 12, 15,000 years. So who knows? And you may be wondering, how am I finding things on the surface that could be from that time period? Well, the desert's a little different than, say, eastern woodlands. The vegetation is kind of sparse, and the ground is really loose. So it doesn't take much to uncover things. We get heavy winds out here, at times heavy rains, and it just completely changes the terrain, literally in minutes. So things that could have been buried for thousands of years eventually get uncovered, and other things get buried. And that's just the way it goes. So we've now come across chert lithics and some obsidian lithics. So we're on to something. Look at that right there. That's flaked obsidian. More obsidian. I'm under the impression this might have come down, so I'm gonna go up. And we've got chert. So we've got both chert and obsidian lithics. This is getting interesting. More obsidian. Right on. I'm actually a little surprised at the amount of obsidian I've come across. That would have had to have been brought into the area. It's not obtained locally. Oh. More obsidian. This is really surprising. I'm finding more obsidian than chert. All right, well, this gives you an idea of the area. So this would have been a lake right here. This whole bowl. I'm finding lithic material all in this area here. What I got up on just now is like, it's just like a little finger, it's a little point. I'm gonna come down right up in this flat area and have a look and then head back down to the truck. We didn't bring any water, so he's probably a little thirsty, but yeah. So this all could have been, and more than likely was, an ancient lake here. And looks like there's a creek still running through it. I don't know if that's man-made or not, but there's springs dotted throughout the whole area. So I think people would have been in here intermittently for as long as back as you can think, you know? It's pretty interesting when you try and imagine it, you know? Well, nothing at the top, so we're gonna make our way back to the truck and try a different spot. So I did a little riding, and I couldn't really get along what I thought to be the shoreline of that first ancient lake, just because there's so much private land up to the tree line. So I did a little riding and came to this area here. This also is kind of along the same lines. This used to be more than likely an ancient lake as well. Or a body of water, I should say. But I'm over at this end, and there's a little, it goes up just slightly here along the edges, this rock outcropping here. I want to walk this and have a look. I feel like this would have been a good spot to find where people might have camped intermittently along the edges of this possible body of water down, a little farther down, but there would have been streams, creeks going into this from that direction where that other lake was. And down, a little further down here is where I believe like the body of water would have been. So we're gonna kind of walk this area a bit and have a look and see if we come across anything. I feel pretty good about it. And I still got a couple hours before the temperatures get uncomfortable. So we're gonna have a look. All right, this is a good sign. That's some flake chert right there. Right on. So I'm going to try a different spot. I'm going to walk this whole area along the tree line and then kind of go back and forth, and that'll be my day. It's already almost noon and at least the winds come up now, but when those clouds move and the sun comes back out, it's getting pretty uncomfortable. So we're looking at probably 90-95 degrees up here today, something around those lines. And probably been doing quite a lot of walking already, and we haven't really found much. I mean, we found lithic material everywhere we've been, which indicates people are around, but we just haven't found anything substantial, I should say. So we haven't completely struck out. We just haven't, you know. Anyway, this will be the last area we kind of search and explore. So yeah, hopefully we come across something cool. Just found a nice piece of chert, and it's definitely been worked at the tip here. It obviously wasn't finished, although it does have an edge. I'm going to use the other camera to get in for a better look, especially at the tip. All right, this is the side that was up. It's a little more polished than the side that was in the dirt there. But as you can see, the tip here, where my finger is, you can see where pieces have been napped off, and it created an edge. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this was a finished product. I don't think so, but who am I to say? But there's a definite shape here, and you can see along the edges where it's been worked. Well, this has been the best find yet today, and it's not really saying much because it isn't much, but it's better than nothing. Well, great. Now I find pieces like that, and then I get stuck out here for another few hours. So this is how it always ends up. And I feel like this would have been a good spot. It's looking down over the whole valley here. So I'm just going to take my time and kind of go over the general area, kind of zigzagging back and forth, and maybe we'll come across something a little more substantial. But I like to keep my expectations low. That way I'm never disappointed. My truck's right there in the center, right there in the distance, and finally came across something, the most substantial thing this morning. Today, sorry, afternoon now, but this is a piece of obsidian. This is a biface. You can see where it's been worked on both sides. It's fractured, of course. This maybe, I don't know what part of the point this would have been, but this is all that's left of it. I just found this on the surface, just right at my feet. I know this doesn't look like much, but with today being a difficult day, this is about as good as it's gotten, I suppose. So I'll take it. A piece of obsidian. I haven't seen a piece of obsidian in this particular area. I've been walking, so I guess that's how we're going to wrap it up. Truck is right in front of me. I think that's going to be a wrap, folks. It has been an interesting day, and I found evidence everywhere I went. Not much, but everywhere. Enough anyway. So that would lead me to believe that people were all around these ancient lakes. It's pretty obvious. Whatever they were doing for their life chores, they were here. Whether they were seasonal camps, hunting camps, just passing through, all those things. And yeah, I wish I could have found something a little more substantial today, but that's how it goes. Sometimes you don't find anything at all. Actually, a lot of the times that's how it is. So I feel pretty lucky to come across what I did. And there you have it, folks. I got lots more content on the way. So if you're new to the channel, it is free. Please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. Folks, appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time. D-Rock out. Adios.